Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
This episode is brought to you by Experian. Are you paying for subscriptions you don't use but can't find the time or energy to cancel them? Experian could cancel unwanted subscriptions for you, saving you an average of $270 per year and plenty of time. Download the Experian app. Results will vary. Not all subscriptions are eligible. Savings are not guaranteed. Paid membership with connected payment account required.
When it comes to towing, seeing is believing. That's why Chevy Truck's advanced camera technology offers up to 8 available cameras for 14 unique views, so you can focus on the view that really matters. Chevrolet, together let's drive. Learn more about Chevy Trucks at Chevy.com. Safety or driver assistance features are no substitute for the driver's responsibility to operate the vehicle in a safe manner. Read the Vehicle Owner's Manual for important feature limitations and information.
Shaun Boland, welcome to the World of Martial Arts TV. Today we want you to reveal to us your martial arts journey. And basically, you've done a lot of martial arts. So where did it begin for you, Shaun?
Yeah, you know, you hit the nail on the head with the word journey. It is a journey. It's a life's journey. I started off 1973. I was queuing up to watch Herbie with my brother, Love Bug. And a lady come up with a poster, and it said on there that there was a judo class. Call it an epiphany, I don't know. I had no other influence other than James Bond, and I had seen Bruce Lee but didn't know who he was, like most of us, you know, Longstreet and Marlowe and, you know, various things, Batman with the Green Hornet. And I just said, I'm going to do that. I've found in my life I've done quite a few things like that. I joined the forces with no anything pre to it. I just said, I'm going to do that. So I took up judo. It was my first taste of martial arts. And then that was in the July 1973. How spooky, because Bruce Lee died probably a couple of weeks after I took up judo. I don't know, but his energy didn't hit me. The tsunami of Bruce Lee didn't hit me until probably around the August time. But then the Kung Fu Monthly came out, etc., and my schoolmates were looking at this Bruce Lee. And I said, who's that? Big flying kick. And I said, that's fake. Got to be trampoline. Got to be holding on something because your arms are out here, you know. And I went to see Big Boss. And like most of us at that young, tender age in the 70s, we were all taller then because we had platform shoes. I walked out of Big Boss and I've been baptised. Yeah. There's no way of explaining how, why. The only thing I can say is his energy and persona. Let's ignore his skills for a minute. His energy and his persona transmitted from the screen and hit me, and I thought I was the only one it hit. Yes, all of us. And from there I then started to read up on him, not just and watch all his films hundreds of times, and I then took up some basic karate, and that started learning to kick, etc. Then I joined the military. Okay, so I had a good 2 years of judo, 73 to 75, got a blue belt, and when I joined the military I took up 2 arts of fighting. One was Tang judo because I wanted to kick, because Bruce Lee could kick. So Tang judo, Korean martial art. So I did that, got my black belt. So I did that for several years. I also took up boxing because I believed I needed to get hit if I want to be real. And I won the RAF Novice Championships, the Lord Wakefield Championships in 1983, age 24. I do have to count back, it's a long way. And then started picking up other martial arts. So that is the basics of what I did.
Yeah. You said you learned you want to be a fighter. When you went into a ring, presumably, can you? I always like to ask this question. Yeah. What was it like when you those minutes before you go into the ring, when you're going to fight somebody and you're going to have somebody in front of you throwing combative punches or kicks at you? Can you describe to me how you felt at that time?
Yeah, it is hard to remember the actual adrenaline and all that side of it, because now I've got a different perspective on it, and maybe I'll look at me how I thought I felt. But to be as honest as possible, first and foremost, if you haven't got any nerves, then you're probably not going to do too well. No matter how much confidence you portray, You know, it's like Muhammad Ali. I guarantee he would have been nervous for every fight, because the bigger he shouted, the more he had to lose. So I realised very quickly that my nerves were a very simple thing. They were my ego. Because let's face it, I'm in a boxing ring, there's a referee, so if things get too out of hand, it's going to stop. And if I get knocked out, it's very quick and you don't really feel knockouts. You know, it's over and you wake up and, oh, is that it? You know, there's no, it's the beating that is the one that you learn from. So I looked at that as, it's my ego. And it is not wanting to show myself up in front of people. Yeah, not wanting to lose. I transferred that to my fighters, which perhaps we'll talk about a little bit later, but I transferred that knowledge to my fighters about winning and losing, and it's something I wrote about as well. So the initial build-up was, there's somebody in front of me, and I tried to get the mindset that he has to deal with me and deal with what I'm going to deliver, rather than me worry about what he's going to do. And it's not always the case, by the way. But that was how I looked at it. So yes, there's nerves, there is a build-up, and then you get the euphoria. Win or lose, you get that adrenaline, and that adrenaline will dump eventually. You fall asleep, and the next day you wake up and you realise how hard you had been hit, you know. But yeah, pretty much in a nutshell, a little bit of adrenaline, some nerves. But for me, I learnt the understanding of those nerves.
You've talked about being in the ring now, and you've been in the military. Have you ever had an encounter, a personal encounter outside, where you've had to control yourself because you are a martial artist, but you've known that this person's coming at you and you have to deal with it?
So actual combat, fight. I've had a few. I've not been a big street fighter because I'm not the sort of personality who goes out looking for trouble. However, being a poser, being somebody who likes to show off, I like to dance, so I've become a good dancer. And if you're dancing, you've got girls looking at you, clapping, go, wow, or maybe not. And you're going to have jealous guys. And if they've got some alcohol and you're at a nightclub, that would be the majority of my encounters. The majority of my encounters ended very quickly because I learned to hit them while they were talking. Very quickly. It's hard to hit me while I'm talking because there's no gaps. But the point I'm making is I had this very simple technique. So when I was learning Tang judo, I did what the Japanese would call the Gyakuzuki on the guy, straight on his nose. And he just folded. And it wasn't that hard a punch, but it's the impact. I was fast. I had that. I rarely use any of my boxing techniques. I've only ever kicked one guy in the head once, but he'd already hit me. He blindsided me and caught me good. His mistake, he didn't follow up. I was a bit dizzy, disorientated, but I managed to gather my ground, and I thought in my head to kick him in the throat. I would never teach that. To this day, I believe it's because he hit me. I lost my kind of reasoning, because normally it'd be hand techniques really in the street. But I caught him, and I did catch him in the throat with a hook kick and stopped the fight there. And then he didn't knock him out, frightened him, you know. And the biggest fight I ever had was in a nightclub. I actually wrote about this, and I went to help some doorman, RAF doorman, but he was a civilian nightclub, and it kicked off. And there was literally about 9 or 10 guys onto 4 doormen. I know, and I made the mistake of going around the back, and I grabbed one guy, pulled him off, because I thought if I just start pulling people off, that's going to work. This guy turned round, and we were in a hallway in a nightclub. Disco lights were going outside, and somebody flicked the switch, and it went dark. And I just moved back, and this guy threw a punch, caught me on the lip. When the lights went on, he come towards me, I hit him, down he went. And 4 or 5 of the guys saw me do it and said, he's hit Frank. And they come running at me. How I survived that fight, I don't know, but I used boxing. I grabbed one guy's balls, I shoved my thumb in another guy's eye. What I will tell you about that is that I got more and more tired because my adrenaline was so high, especially when I heard somebody grab his legs and drag him outside. And then one of the doormen managed to get through, and he said to me, go, go. So I remember getting in the car, and I was shaking like a leaf, even though I'd actually done well. Technically, I took out about 3 or 4 people, or stopped 3 or 4 people, let's say. It wasn't a Bruce Lee moment. It was very rough and ready. But I realised I'd at least got some skill and maybe the acumen to know what the danger was and get out of it. Thumbing somebody in the eye because he grabbed my throat. So I just ran along the line. I'm going to spoil the camera angle here, but as I said, like Bruce Lee then, didn't it? As he went there, I just followed it. And it was all of it was pure instinct. It was what I like to teach now is called flinch, because your flinch is because you've trained and trained. It's now your reflex. It's what you do. Yeah, you don't do anything new. If I taught you something new now and then the situation happens, you'll go back to your reflex. So yes, I've had some encounters and I've been fortunate. I have been hit because you get blindsided and you're talking or whatever and somebody catches you. But yeah, but 9 times out of 10 when I've hit somebody, I've normally took them for a drink after and said sorry. You know, but you did come at me.
You've talked about Muay Thai. Can you tell us how you got into that, please?
Yeah, that was quite interesting. So I knew about Muay Thai, obviously, because studying pretty much all martial arts, you want to see what these things are about. So in the late 90s, I took up Wing Chun and I took up Praying Mantis. It was under the umbrella of Derek Frierson, and really was enjoying it. And they brought a few lads along who were training for the Sancho Championships in 1999. And these guys were from Peterborough. They were hard lads, black belts, and they wanted somebody to spar. And because of my boxing background, I was ideal. But one of the lads come in at me heavy, so I'd give him a tap, and he dropped. And I was apologetic, but he was coming heavy, and you reflex. The other guy I then sparred with was more clever. He backed off a little bit, and the third one was very clever, and he just kept countering me. But the instructor said, you're at a level where you should enter this. And I said, well, when is it? He said, this was back in 98, late 98. He said, it's in July next year. So I said, okay. So I literally trained for 6 months. I went on holiday in Cyprus and still trained. And I went, and I hadn't fought for 11 years. So my last competition was way back in the 80s, probably 88. So it was about 11 years I hadn't fought. And I went in there, first full contact fight. Kicking and throwing and what have you. I got bronze. Wow. I thought, hey, I'm happy with that because it didn't matter. It was nice. I got a bronze medal and came away from it. And the joke about it is that they said the age limit is 35, and I filled the form in with my age. I knew full well they wouldn't check it. I was 40, and they invited me to train in the team for the World Championships. They felt I was good enough in Hong Kong, and I knew Passport was going to tell them how old I am. So I told them, and they said. So my brag is that I was almost in the World Championships team. Whether I'd have done well is a different thing.
So you trained some guys yourself?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. So when you're training somebody, what's your aim? Where's your aim? In what level do you want to get them to?
You know, that's a good question. I like to listen to their aims first. Yeah, I think that's important. They might be just there just to get fit, to gain confidence, or they've gone through a bit of a hard time. They need to let off steam. One particular guy was taking a lot of drugs, a lot of alcohol, and needed to clean himself up and find his path. And I said, well, you're quite addictive in your nature. Why don't you get addicted to the martial arts then? At least then you've got something positive. And he's doing well even now. Yes, I'd like to have had a world champions. But that's really, I call them braggers' rights. A lot of coaches say, I trained this guy, I trained that guy, and he's a world champion. And that's great, it's a good reflection. But at the end of the day, that guy's got to have the talent. Just because I've given him the tools, he's still got to have that talent. He's still the guy doing it. But I was fortunate that I had some really good guys. There's a particular guy who now runs a Thai boxing school in Lincoln called Chao Phraya Lincoln. His name's Lee Edlin. He became European champion. He was Commonwealth, double British English area championship. Yes, I was his coach. But he got that natural talent. His son now, Isaac, is phenomenal, and he's a name to watch out for, Isaac Edlin. I know I'm name dropping here, but that kid is coming up in the right direction. Right. And you feel that's a little bit of your legacy, yeah, which gives you a bit of immortality, yeah. All that sort of thing. Yeah. So you can pat yourself on the back, say, but we're only guides. Yeah. To put that into perspective, the particular lad who'd gone through a lot of drugs said to me, I want to thank you, you saved my life. And I said, look, I'll take the credit for giving you the tools and being there and having a club. I said, but who first sought me out? He said, well, I did. And I said, and who turned up every lesson? I did. I said, so why aren't you patting yourself on the back? Yeah. Because it's you who's turned up, you who's dedicated. Yeah. I just happened to be there. Could have been another instructor, but you'd have still done the same. Yeah. But yes, thank you, I will take it. But you've got to give yourself credit.
Shaun, what are you doing today? What do you do today now?
Martial arts wise? Yes. Yeah, good journey this. I love it. Absolutely love it. So about 8 years ago, I decided to take up weapons. A bit of Bruce Lee influence there, because I thought I've done pretty much everything that Bruce Lee did in a way, not to his level, I'd love to. I thought, yeah, I played about with sticks, but you twirl them, don't you? Yeah, and I thought I want to take up Arnis, also known as the Screamer or Kali, it's just a dialect. So I took up Arnis. I trained originally in Rapid Arnis, and that was under the umbrella of Pat O'Malley. And I trained with a guru or an instructor called Carl Rain. And I did about 18 months. I mean, for want of grades, I've got a green belt, but that's neither here or there. And I started to really love it and embrace it. It was new. Because I believe, even though I was an instructor for over 20 years in Muay Thai and an instructor in other things, it's quite easy as an instructor to lose your skills. Yeah, you become better as a coach, but your skill level or your fitness level, because you're not training yourself. And I want to be a student always. Yeah, always be a student. Yeah, so even if I'm teaching, I'm a student, because the student's teaching. Yeah. So I took up this Arnis, and then my instructor left for New Zealand. But through a guy called Carl Butcher, he told me there's a gentleman master called Shaun Porter. Shaun Porter was trained with the original founder of the art that I now study, called Lightning Scientific Arnis. And 2 years ago, after 6 years of training, I gained my good instructor's grade. As you get older, when you get these black belts equivalents, you kind of go, oh, look at me at my age, you know, because they're going to be rare to get. I'm now currently training for my master's level, and that'll come when it comes. Last year, I celebrated 50 years in the martial arts, and my girlfriend said, what are you going to do? Because at the age of 60, I went to Bruce Lee's grave, and that was a milestone for me. I wanted to do it at 60. But when I hit the 50 years in martial arts, I thought, I need to do something. I'm going to be a student. So I went back to Wing Chun. And I've been doing Wing Chun for over a year now. I have fast-tracked a little bit, not too much, because I've got an understanding of body mechanics and martial arts experience. And I'm now embracing Fashan Wing Chun, which is the first Wing Chun that Ip Man, when he was in Fashan, before he went to Hong Kong, that was his pure style. So there's certain moves that have been kept in when he went to Hong Kong. I'm not going to use the word diluted, actually, because that's wrong. He modified, it's a better word, yeah? He modified his techniques to suit the environment and to suit the different students he had. So I'm now embracing that. So I now have two arts that I train in. They'll do for now, yeah? And that's Lightning Scientific Arnis and Fashan Wing Chun.
I think that's your direction, but I've got to finish it off because I know it's the passion between us.
Yeah.
It's also 50 years since we lost Bruce Lee.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
So how do you feel that there's these shows going on with these people 50 years on?
Yeah.
He's still the big pull, he's still the build thing.
Yeah.
Why?
And there's so many layers to that. You can't give it one answer. You can't say he was dynamic. You can't say that. You can't say he was fast. He was powerful. You know what I think? Something he said, and it's going to hit home to you. He honestly expressed himself. Wow. He's done it again.
Yeah.
You feel that now?
Yeah, that's good. Shaun Boland, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
I'm Victoria Cash, and I want to invite you to a place called Lucky Land, where you can play over 100 social casino-style games for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. So what are you waiting for? The best way to discover your luck is to spin. So go to LuckyLandSlots.com, that's LuckyLandSlots.com, and get lucky today. At Lucky Land.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.